I'm here with Joey Nowlin. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Can you just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I am the founder and CEO of Agent Ink Apparel. So, that is an esports apparel design and printing company here in Kansas, but we work on a global scale, providing custom esports jerseys, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, things like that to partners across the world. A couple notable ones would be WSU esports program, McMurray, and we recently partnered with Trevor May, a professional baseball player and active streamer on Twitch.
Awesome. Yeah, and I have some notes to get into all of that, the Trevor May stuff and everything. So, just
Awesome,
real quick,
awesome.
did you grow up around here?
Yeah, yeah. Born and raised in Wichita, Kansas.
Perfect. And then Wichita State, right? Wichita State grad? Did you
I'm
graduate?
not. I'm
Okay.
not actually.
No.
That's where it kind of takes a left turn.
Yeah. Tell me the story. Yeah.
Yeah. I right out of high school, actually, I decided to kind of take a step back.
Hmm.
I had been doing a lot of freelance graphic design work and a lot of gaming my entire high school, middle
Interesting.
school,
Okay.
elementary school years, and
Just
I
real
just
quick,
had a
what type of graphic design? I mean, as a high schooler, what graphic design were you doing?
So it started out just logos and like social media
Okay. Yeah.
graphics, like Twitter, Facebook,
Sure.
YouTube headers, things like that, all for my own personal esports teams.
Awesome. Very
So
cool.
that's how it all got started. I wasn't like, I want to be a graphic designer. It was just, I was playing video games. I
Yeah.
was the leader of a team. We had no money. So, I mean, I was young. So
Hmm.
I was just like, I got to create some graphics, I guess, how do
Right.
I do this? And so I downloaded Photoshop and just YouTube taught myself. And turns out I actually kind of have a knack for it.
Yeah.
So then for like the next probably 4 or 5 years throughout high school, really, I started doing graphic design for my own esports team, but also other teams in the industry. And I got really comfortable with working for myself and doing things that made me happy, not
Sure.
necessarily provided me a ton of financial gain right away, but just was something that I enjoyed. And from that point forward, I didn't really know exactly what my direction would be out of high school because it's like I
Sure.
don't really want to work as a graphic designer at a firm. Like that's not what I'm
Right.
doing. And I definitely was like a horrible student. I wouldn't show
Yeah.
up to school or anything like that. I was pretty bad, and so I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. So I took a year, which is like how dare you take a year? Like
Right.
it's
Right.
going to turn into 5 or 10
Always
or
does. Oh
never.
yeah.
It always does. It always does. And I heard that, and I was like, well, I'm gonna do it, but I'm not just gonna like take a year off to eat potato chips at
Right.
mom and dad's house. I'm gonna take a year off to like either travel or create a business or at least figure out what the heck I'm gonna do
Sure.
in college next year.
Yeah.
Um, Financially, I just wasn't ready to take that debt on and not know what that
Yeah.
investment was. If you're gonna put $100,000 into something, I'd hope you know a little bit about what the
Absolutely.
return was going to be.
Yeah.
So I took that year, and it did not lead to a ton of traveling or a ton of accomplishments right away. It actually did exactly what people warned me. Something happens, and then you end up getting derailed, and at some point you're either playing video games or watching TV or
Sure.
just like dealing with something. I actually ended up having like crazy back pain. Uh, it was like sciatic nerve pain that
Oh
like
yeah.
was super debilitating, and so I never ended up going on the trips that I had planned or anything like that.
Right.
Well, during that period of time, trying to heal my back and everything, I continued my graphic design uh, through that, just freelance and creating content on YouTube. A lot of like tutorials on YouTube on how to do certain things
Okay.
that
Cool.
actually got some pretty good hits. And that led me to think, okay, so this is maybe something like content creation or at least like graphic design in the esports community. to some degree.
Sure.
Seems to be people are taking notice.
Mm-hmm.
And I then entered a esports apparel contest for a professional esports team.
Okay.
And that is when things started to change. So I entered that contest randomly, and I ended up winning it.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Never designed apparel before, but
was it like a jersey? What was it?
It was a jersey. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was several options like t-shirts, hoodies, hats. I went for the jersey. I don't know why, but I did, and it ended up working out. And so then, you know, the ideal story would be right then and there. I created a apparel company, and it went wildly successful. But that's actually not what happened. For the next year, I still was like struggling with that back pain and everything, and just kind of playing with different online businesses, random things, you know, drop shipping stores. At one point, I was selling electric longboards, you know, like I was doing all sorts of weird things. And then I got to this like breaking point of living at home and just like not doing enough and not succeeding enough. And I was like, okay, I've got to put some pressure on somehow, you know? And so that is when I told my girlfriend, I was like, I'm going to move out because I don't think this is healthy for me anymore.
Sure.
There's not enough pressure to do something, like actually succeed. And so I had like $1,000 in my bank account, went and like got approved for a lease. I don't even know how, and moved out with my girlfriend with like $1,000. And I told her I will get a job if I have to, but I have $1,000. We put the down payment. We've got like 2 months here. Give me 2 months to see if I can make something. I'll figure it out. I swear I will. And so that is when I had like a real sit down moment with myself. And I was like, man, what am I going to do to actually pay this rent? Because I mean, like, I'm a very particular person. There's a reason I didn't go to school or go to college. You know, like I didn't show up to school a lot. I'm just have difficult time with certain things like authority or just being too confined, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
And so anyways, at that point I was just writing ideas down on a piece of paper, just as many things as I could think of, just as they came. I would just write things down. Some of them didn't even make sense. And one of them was this word combination, Agent Inc. And I didn't really know what that was, but I was like thinking of like what I do, you know, design, and like maybe I could create like an agency of some kind to provide people like a design agency, you know, like in the esports community. But I was like, that's not really nuanced enough. Like there's nothing like cutting edge about that. It's just a design agency, you know, people go to Fiverr. So that's when I started to think like, okay, so what have I done that's like actually successful that I didn't really try to do, but just happened, you know, I don't want to force it. And that's when the jersey contest came back into my mind. Yeah. And so we started out by just providing people jersey designs. It was a design agency. Agent Inc. was providing jersey designs. Those people would take those jersey designs and then send them to the manufacturer of their choice. Okay. And so that's how this all got started. I don't remember the initial question that I'm answering right now, but
that was great.
That is where it came from, man.
Wow, that is super interesting. So just
take
one quick step back. Did you ever figure out your back pain?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm gonna sound like a kook though.
I want to hear it. Let's go.
I would love to share that story actually. So for anybody with sciatic nerve pain, I challenge you to think about the possibility that it is not just a structural abnormality. It may be more psychologically induced. And I know we're getting kooky already.
I like it. I'm excited.
So here's the thing, man. It's crazy. I went to a physical therapist. Mm-hmm. I went to my doctor. So the first thing I did, went to my doctor. They gave me steroid shots. Right. And that didn't help. The first time it actually did a little bit, but then I went back Did it again, didn't help. Up the dose, didn't help. They gave me like 2 in both sides, didn't help. And then they were like, okay, so you need to go to physical therapy and see if we can do something there. You know, they thought that I had a herniated disc
Sure.
because there's just pain just shooting down my leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I had power lifted in high school,
Mm-hmm.
but I never had like a notable injury.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I guess that maybe, all right, I'll try it. I was in like excruciating pain 24 hours a day. So I did the physical therapy for 3 months. This was right out of high school, and it did nothing for me. And so then I went to a different physical therapist, tried a different strategy with like traction pulling, like they put you on a bed.
Yeah.
It's super weird.
Yeah.
It feels sketchy.
Like a medieval torture device.
Yeah, exactly. and it's electronic, and they leave you in this dark room, and it's like, what if this thing just unhinges? You know, like, is this safe? No, but it was all right, but it didn't help. It actually made things worse. Everything that I was doing would make things worse, and I was under the impression of, okay, maybe it has to get worse before it gets better, you know.
Right.
So I would push through the pain and try different things, try all the stretches. I would do it at home. I would do almost everything that was possible. I was exploring all options.
Yeah.
Except for painkillers. I would not use painkillers.
Sure. Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I remember I was sitting on my bed with my my girlfriend, and I was just in tears. Like I'm not like some macho guy necessarily, but I don't cry very often. It's just a personal tendency. It doesn't happen. And I was crying. And that's when I realized, like, this is crazy. Like, I'm like, I feel like I'm losing my mind over this, you know?
Right.
And so I booked an appointment with a neurosurgeon at a neuroscience facility here in town.
Yeah.
And I got MRIs, X-rays, like they did these crazy tests, you know, all these different things, physical assessments. And they're like, dude, there's nothing. We will not operate. Because I was ready for surgery. I was like, you're going to like operate on me. I'm losing my mind here. I know that there's like and this is the sad part. There's like a crazy like 10-20% success rate with these surgeries, if not less than that.
Yeah.
But so a lot of people are doing these surgeries, and they're like life altering. Usually, you're never the same afterwards.
Right.
They're back surgeries, you know.
Yeah.
And so they're like, dude, we're not gonna operate on you. Like this is there's no herniated disc. There's no abnormalities. You're fine. Your spine is perfect. Like everything's good. It's like, okay, so what do I do?
Right. You're the doctor. Yeah. Tell me what's wrong.
Yeah. And they had nothing for me. They were like, try physical therapy, yoga. I'd already done yoga. I already done physical therapy.
Yeah.
I did the steroid shots. I'm not going to take opiates, you know, like
right.
There's nothing else you can do for me. Is that what you're saying? And that's what they were saying. And so that is when I took to the internet.
Yeah.
And so I got on Reddit.
Yeah.
And I've always been a lurker on Reddit.
Yeah,
you know?
Same. Yep.
I'm never like the guy that's like commenting on YouTube videos, Reddit, anything.
Right.
But this was like my debut. I just went crazy on every like forum, every subreddit that I could. Right. I was just typing up like different versions of my story and posting them, hoping that somebody could relate and explain what the hell was going on.
Right.
And no success. Everybody's saying the same ridiculous things of like, you got to do yoga, you got to stretch.
Right.
Your sciatic nerve is probably caught on something. It's like, is it though? Is it? Because the largest bone in the body takes like 2 months to recuperate on its own without any interference, the femur. So a muscle or nerve, you know, I'm sure you've like, I don't know if you've ever got a nerve stuck on your hand or something.
Right.
It feels weird.
Yeah.
It works itself out though. You know, you got a pinched nerve in your back. It works out. These are soft tissue structures. Doesn't make sense. I'm not buying it. But what else is there? And so finally, over the course of like 3 months, the two people on two different forums commented the same thing, telling me to check out this book called Healing Back Pain, The Mind-Body Connection by John Sarno, a doctor. he is iconic to those who know him. He first came about in like I think the late 70s or 80s is when he really started to make his appearances.
Uh-huh.
And he's well known and well respected by celebrities who have similar
Interesting.
ailments.
Uh-huh.
One of them to know, I don't know if this is a credible source or not, but Howard Stern
Yeah.
gave a eulogy, I think, for him because he was
Oh, wow. Yeah.
like I think he even claims that he like saved his life or changed his life, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, he wrote this book about back pain and the different causes and what's really going on. And it turns out that some people, and I'm not saying that all people that have back pain are potentially suffering from a psychosomatic syndrome, but there is a large portion, and he claims around 70%
Wow.
of back injuries and gastrointestinal things like IBS.
Yeah,
it's a syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome. The first thing on the medical document they'll hand you if you go to the hospital for irritable bowel syndrome is psychological. And then it goes through some potential irritation from physical things like hot peppers or whatever.
Right.
The first thing is psychological stress
right.
and repression of emotion, things like that. They don't talk about that much though. So anyways, sciatic nerve pain and back pain in general, he's claiming is 70% is due to psychosomatic causes. Yep. And what's happening is, to just really summarize it, and I don't know if this will make sense without going in depth, but perhaps it will. What he's saying is that the mind is a part of the body, whether you acknowledge that on a day-to-day basis or acknowledge that in your spiritual beliefs or not. The mind is a part of the biological body.
Right.
And the mind experiences pain in different ways than the physical ligament or like our arms and things like that. Mm-hmm. When we experience stress, it's a pain. You can identify stress or anger or sadness as a pain point in your life, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But it's not so tangible as like if you stub your toe,
Right.
And so the mind doesn't necessarily know how to handle that type of emotion unless trained. Mm-hmm. And so as a coping mechanism, it evolved. This is what he claims. It has evolved to distract from that pain with a physical pain that you can be involved with, because it's really hard to look at your stress and emotions and repress anger from your childhood.
Right.
But you can look at your leg and say, man, that sciatic nerve, God, like I'll do some stretches or something. And it's essentially it's tension. And he calls the syndrome TMS, tension myoneural syndrome, mm-hmm. Which is tension muscle syndrome, something like that. Mm-hmm. It basically means that the tension in your mind gets expressed through physical muscles in your body. Yeah. Makes pretty much a lot of sense if you think about how, like, if you're nervous, you might throw up. There's all these different things, psychological things that happen. If you think about spiders, you might feel tingles. Yeah. Psychosomatic syndromes are real. This is very possible that this is a real thing. Yeah. And so I'm reading, I'm like, man, this is crazy. How does that work though? Why would I feel pain in my leg? And so what happens, what he says is that the mind latches onto a past injury. Mm. So if you get in a car accident, or if you maybe strain your back lifting, and then your mind attaches like, oh man, when I bend over, that hurts. And then eventually that heals. But your mind remembers that memory in the tissue or whatever of where that pain was at. Yep. Because the pain is coming from your nervous system anyways. Your nervous system is alerting you that something's wrong. It's not necessarily that the thing that's wrong is causing the pain, Right. So your nervous system is reattaching to that pain point and pushing out this emotional into that pain point by restricting the blood flow in the tiny vesicles. And so a lot of people describe like their pain is like a dull, achy, like almost like growing pain feeling
Yeah.
of some kind. And they even say that growing pains might be this to some degree for some people.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
the growing pains are unexplained. If you talk to a doctor, they don't really know why you feel those pains, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Huh.
and it's exactly, I've had growing pains growing up, and
Yeah. Same.
it is sciatic nerve pain practically. It is what it feels like. And so anyways, I'm like, okay, so there's science to this. It's not just like woo woo.
Right.
And so his strategy for those that may want to try this is to do very little, actually. The only thing that you really have to do is acknowledge that your physical ailment may not hinder you from actually doing physical activity. So try physical activity. It may hurt, but can you run? Like, can you bend down and tie your shoe? Yeah, I could. I could always, it wasn't stopping me from doing anything. It's
Right.
just that it
Just
hurt.
painful. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no structural abnormalities found by the doctor. So what the heck's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you acknowledge that and you acknowledge that you need to pay attention to your emotions, you don't have to fix them. You don't have to like go back to your, sixth grade year and face the fact that you like, ripped your pants and that like traumatized you forever. Like you don't have to like figure out like, how do I mend this? But you just acknowledge whatever you're feeling inside. So he says to write it down. Write down whatever's on your mind. If you're feeling TMS, write down what's on your mind. And I didn't even finish the book. I haven't finished the book because I didn't need to.
Yeah.
I got 2 chapters in about 2 weeks of reading this book, very sparsely. It's a short book.
Sure.
I had completely healed my 3-year chronic sciatic nerve pain entirely.
That is incredible.
And I've been completely free of it since, except for moments when I get extremely stressed
Right.
and I avoid handling it by distraction, playing video games, eating food, going out with friends when I should be taking care of what's going on,
Sure.
I'll come home and then my leg hurts.
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
Man, it's crazy.
Wow.
And so I just journal and it goes away. Am I crazy? Quite possibly. But
hey, if it worked, it worked.
If it works, it works, man. That's my methodology. If the neuroscientists that have spent, probably like 10 years studying this and getting degrees worth hundreds of thousands of dollars and they can't solve it for me.
Right.
And journaling can, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you have to like burn the piece of paper or anything after?
No, that's what I'm saying is you don't have to do anything ridiculous. Just acknowledge what you're feeling.
Yeah,
It's
that's really interesting.
Emotion.
I definitely thought you were going to go like you went to hypnosis or something like that,
Nah,
but that's super interesting. I'm definitely going to link the book up in the show notes and stuff so people can find that. And hopefully, I mean, I don't hope people have that issue, but hopefully somebody can learn from this. And that's incredible.
Yeah, hopefully so.
I did not think we were going to talk about this. This is awesome. This
is
honestly like the best side story rabbit hole we could have gotten. But
I know I do that.
No, that was great. That's a lot of the times I get stuck kind of going through my questions. So I'm glad we got onto like a good tangent. So just to kind of get back on track to this story. So
sure.
Obviously you like loved video games growing up. Did you have any clue in high school besides like maybe something with graphic design, any clue what you wanted to do?
No, not really. I knew that I wanted to, I knew I had a problem with authority. My dad was in the military. So
okay.
I did not like people telling me what to do. So I knew I couldn't do like 9 to 5. I tried it and I knew that I could probably like work on it, but ultimately like my personality just doesn't work for that very well. Like it's not 9 to 5 necessarily. It's taking orders from somebody else.
Sure.
So I initially, my knee-jerk reaction was like, okay, so I can't like function in normal society. So what does that mean for me? And so I got really hippy dippy and thought like, okay, I'm just going to go like travel the world and like vagabond around and do like digital nomad work, like graphic design, coding.
Which is like a perfect industry to do that with. Yeah.
It's not a bad industry to get into. It's not a crazy thing to do. But it's not necessarily like, long-term sustainability,
Sure.
Like, like let's say I did that right out of high school. I would have come home, maybe I had some money, but most likely scenarios I'd come home back to my parents' house.
Right.
That's not what I was looking for either. So I knew that I needed to do something unorthodox to cater to my personality type.
Yeah.
and my tendencies and my skill sets.
Yeah,
but I had no idea what I was going to do at all.
Yeah.
It was just put things down on paper and try them out, push buttons, you know?
And you found the perfect combination of your graphic design skills plus video games, esports and stuff. That's really cool. So when did you graduate high school? What year did you graduate?
2016.
Okay. So, I mean, there was esports around, but even now it's not that big of a thing. So that was, I mean, you got in, relatively early, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. It was, I didn't realize what I was doing. I mean, I maybe say like I was in esports as a kid, but I wasn't in esports. I was into video games.
Sure.
Esports was really, really new when I was a kid.
Right.
And to compete at tournaments was almost unheard of. Like you had to be pro to compete at a tournament. Now you and I could compete at a tournament.
Right.
So esports didn't even really exist until, in my mind, until after I had won that design contest.
Right.
I was just playing video games and creating content.
Right.
And then I accidentally stumbled into it.
Yeah, that's cool.
As a career field, yeah.
Well, it seems like Wichita too is kind of on the, I don't want to say cutting edge, but like we've got a pretty good community around here with the Wichita State team, the Wichita Wolves, who I think you work with, and then I think they just changed their name, but it was Midwest Esports, Unified Esports now, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've been to a couple startup grind things. Ramsey and those guys, I'm familiar with them.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's really cool that there's at least a local scene like you can easily plug into. But you also mentioned that you are like worldwide. So can you talk about a little bit like where you're at, US, worldwide, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So worldwide, I should really say like we cater to the US more than anything else.
Sure.
And our focus is really on the U.S. sector, honestly. When it comes to like universities and schools, those are the major clients we're focusing on.
Yeah.
So mainly we're working in the United States. However, there are cases that come up where we can't turn down an opportunity to work with a certain brand or a certain client, and so it's not like on a grand scale. We don't have like a ton of facilities overseas or anything. Right. We do have one distribution facility over in Latvia.
Okay.
It's just a print partner. It's not like our facility, but so they print and ship out for us.
Okay. So you just tell them, okay, this is the design, this is what the product is. They print it and they ship it from there.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So at that point, we're kind of like a middleman, but it helps to cater to those overseas.
Absolutely. Build clients. Your brand too. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many universities are you with here in the U.S.?
Right now, I think we have like 6 or 7. Okay. Working on like an 8th right now.
Yeah.
It's been kind of slow going, but at the same time, if you average it out, we started with WSU about this time last year, actually. So that was our first university. So over the past 12 months.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
We're almost one university a month. So
sure.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I did hear, just going back to the Wichita point, I did just see they approved, I want to say it was like $500,000 for like 5 of the high schools here in Wichita, which is pretty cool to build some computers for esports.
Yeah, $500,000 going towards the USD 259 esports budget. It's pretty awesome.
Cool. Yeah,
I'm really excited about that. You know, the Midwest, you wouldn't expect. Well, maybe you would, but a lot of people don't expect this. But the Midwest is actually the centralized hotspot for esports right now.
Wow.
In the
so
United
you're perfectly
States.
Placed. Yeah.
Yeah, accidentally so. I always thought that I was at a disadvantage being in Wichita, Kansas. But turns out that the fact that, you know, a lot of kids, and I don't believe this anymore. I actually quite love it. Wichita, I think there's a lot to do here. But, you know, growing up, you have a tendency, you live in Wichita, Kansas. Everybody hates on Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
Man, there's nothing to do in Kansas, you know.
Right.
You play video games, you know.
Right.
So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it's a hot spot.
Well, people, I mean, I don't know if they think this, but they hope this, like that Wichita or at least the Midwest can kind of become the Silicon Prairie, right? And so kind of Austin blew up over the last 5 or 10 years, and they think that we could be maybe the next spot because it's so affordable right now. Companies can afford to come here, take some risks because there's low consequence when it's that cheap for rent and that kind of thing compared to elsewhere. But
yeah, no, it's phenomenal. It's almost frustrating because like my whole life I've wanted to get out of Kansas,
right?
But financially, like economically speaking, it's like the stupidest decision I could make. Like
Right.
I'm at a great advantage right now, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
For sure.
it's a cool place. Yeah. I think it has a good opportunity to blow up for sure.
Yeah. And real quick before I forget, I am rocking some of the merch that you hooked us up with. So I got the hat and the shirt, and hopefully we get some more stuff rolling soon.
Yeah.
So if you want some Wichita Life gear, head to our website and I'll link that up. But are you in any other industries? Because ours is kind of probably a one-off outside of the esports that you typically do. Do you do any other industries or any other partners like that?
Yeah. So there isn't a ton.
Mm-hmm.
We've worked with bands in the past. Like concert merch, setting up the store so that their fans can go and purchase it.
Sure.
And then the only other significant industry would be an accidental step into the professional sports industry with Trevor May.
Yeah. Talk about that.
Which Trevor May, so Agent Inc. partnered with Trevor May. Well, we started talking about a year and a half ago, and then we partnered with him back in January, I want to say, officially, and like flew, like we knew within days, and we like flew straight out to go take some pictures of the merchandise that we made for him in Seattle, right before COVID actually hit. First in Seattle. We were there,
that's a good point. That was the first
days before. Yeah, it was crazy because so there's actually two things that happened there. We got there, took the photos, and left the same weekend. And then a day after we left, there was a shooting, which happened like right where we were at downtown, which was insane. Just mentally
thinking about it.
That's kind of crazy. Like we could have been there, you know?
Right.
And then I find out that Seattle has the first case of COVID in the U.S. like 3 days later after I hear about the shooting. And then I reflect, and Trevor May had just got back from a UFC fight in Vegas, like the night before. He was hanging out with a couple of his buddies, and they all got like crazy sick. He had to fight through it to take the photos with us. He showed up like sick as a dog, and we didn't know what was going on. He's just roughing it. I contemplate if he had it.
Dude, I bet he did. There's been a lot of people I've talked to that, even like, especially in the Midwest, that had very similar. If you had them now, they would call it COVID. Before we had it in the U.S. or like November, December, January time. Yeah. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I would not be surprised.
I bet it was.
It's kind of spooky.
So you were probably case 0 in Wichita then. You probably brought it back.
You know what though? I don't know that. Well, can you get COVID twice?
I don't think they know yet. I think they thought you couldn't because you build up the antibodies, but I don't think they've ever like officially determined that.
Okay. Because I had COVID about a month ago.
Did you really?
You okay. That. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we're running out of time. Do you have a hard stop?
I got a few more minutes. We're good.
So to finish the Trevor May story, basically to start that, to back up just a little bit, we just sent him out some jersey designs, and we were like, hey, you wore this crazy funky floral shirt to this roast of it was Tim the Tap Man, an iconic streamer.
Okay.
And he got a bunch of flack for wearing this like floral shirt with like flamingos and leopards on it.
Yeah.
And so we designed a jersey, a baseball jersey, with that print on it. With
I saw that. Yeah.
His kind of a merge between his professional baseball career and his streamer career.
Right.
And he loved it like right off the bat. And so we ended up doing a limited release of that jersey and a mouse pad with the matching design.
Nice.
And that went really well, actually. Now we're actually rolling the apparel out. We've been rolling it out for about the past month. We brought the jerseys and a hat back to the store. So those are available for purchase right now. And hopefully we can, we're working on talking long-term with him as well, getting an actual official contract in place.
Did you reach out to him first, or did he come to you guys first?
Yeah, I was like, man, we got to find somebody that's doing something in the industry and get them some gear out, you know?
Yeah.
So I picked somebody. Trevor seemed like he was up and coming. and I made those designs and just sent them to him.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, what do you think of this? And so I initially reached out to him.
Nice. Very cool. How big of this? I don't watch a whole lot of Twitch, but how big of a streamer is he?
So he has like, he just hit 1 million views on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
On Twitch, I don't know what his total is, but I know that he averages somewhere between 60 to like 400 viewers per stream. Yeah, nice. I'll jump in. It's like 300 some days. Some days it's 70. Sure. It depends.
Very cool.
But yeah. Awesome. So he's pretty large streamer. He's growing very rapidly.
That's awesome.
I am Trevor May on Twitter.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have to look him up, give him a follow. But it's kind of cool because he's kind of in like a real industry as like a professional athlete, but also, so that's like a perfect crossover for you. And it's also just for esports in general, and like streaming is big time. So
it's huge. It's huge. It's the perfect way to add credibility for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have anything else with Agent Inc? And then I just have a handful of kind of off the wall questions.
With Agent Inc, I don't think so. Not off the top of my head.
No, I love the story. I mean, even just the college question, I had no idea what your story was. So I'm glad we could sit down and talk about it. It was cool.
Oh yeah.
Inspire people and tell them there's not just one way to do things. So
yeah, there's definitely not.
Right. So first up, what is something that you often recommend to people? It can be a book. Well, besides the back book, besides a book, podcasts, anything like that. TV shows, movies.
Something that I often recommend to people. I really love, I find Gary Vaynerchuk to be quite inspirational.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan is a big inspiration as well of mine. Extremely successful in the podcast industry, I'm sure you.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And then probably lastly is I've said this before. It's super cliche. It's not anything you haven't heard before, but good ideas are not hard to come by. Executing them is,
right.
It's very difficult to find the courage, the discipline, the energy on a day-to-day basis to execute on a good idea. There's plenty of ideas that people come up with on a day-to-day basis that end up or are already $1 million ideas. They're not hard to come by. Everybody has good ideas. They just don't make excuses.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Also, I'll pull a kind of a Joe Rogan or a Tim Ferriss. A lot of times they have guests on with interesting stories, but have you ever thought about making a podcast?
I have. I just don't want to be that guy that like thinks that he adds value to the world. I was just talking about this with my girlfriend.
Hey, I don't think that, just for the record. I feel like I can bring people on like you that can give value to the world. So.
Yeah, no. Like, I think you're doing a great job. You have like a perfect foothold in the community. You have something like, I guess if I created a podcast, I would want to have some sort of like legitimacy to it. Like you have like you built Wichita Life. You have this awesome community of people, and you're doing something that's actually relevant that nobody else is doing here in Wichita. I don't want to be another guy talking about like esports startups or startups, like I would hate to just be talking to myself for like hours a week. Which, I don't know if that's the worst thing though.
You could also bring people, you could bring people on, whether it's esports, streamers, and like a Trevor May or somebody like that. It could be interesting. Give it some thought. It could be cool.
Okay. I'll think about it.
Next question is, what's your favorite failure in any aspect of your life? I guess you touched on some stuff, but what's your favorite failure?
God. There's so many. Which one's my favorite? Probably would have to be my favorite failure would probably be, as ridiculous as it sounds, not showing up to school every day.
Yeah.
It was, everybody moves at different paces in life. And I wasn't ready for that commitment, for that experience.
Right.
So I had things in my own life, but also just I didn't understand the value that was being provided to me. Now I do. It's an incredible experience. What a brilliant opportunity. I should have paid attention, should have been there. But that missing school has led me down a path that further, I would say, enhances my character as what I would consider, I don't think I'm some unicorn or anything, but I do consider myself to be a bit alternative in my method of an approach to life. So without that, that time out of school to explore, to create online, because I wasn't just sitting there at home, I was creating things. It was a failure to not go to school and not to get that full educational experience, but it led to some positive things.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Are you still active, before I forget too, are you still active on that YouTube channel you did like through high school and stuff like that?
No, I'm not. I've been thinking about getting back into content creating, but no, I'm not. But you can find it if you type in like Noble Designs or something like that. I think you'll find them.
Cool. I'll look it up. Yeah. What is your definition of success?
Oh man, I have such a loaded definition of success. My knee-jerk reaction is wealth and abundance in a healthy manner. Mm-hmm. So I've been lower middle class my entire life, which in a sense is a privilege, but to me, growing up in a community that was primarily not lower middle class, I felt a little bit disenfranchised or disparaged or something like that, which is hilarious compared to some people out there. But wow, I just lost my train of thought. What was the question?
Definition of success.
Definition of success. So with that being said, I get a little hungry sometimes for financial success. Mm-hmm. So I think my definition of success would be to reach that healthy point of sustainability and comfortability, where you can, where your time is spent on what you want to do. Yeah. So the majority of your time is spent on initiations versus reactions. So I don't want to be checking emails all day and reacting. I want to be initiating conversations and deciding I'm going to buy this book and read it, or I'm going to go take this class on this. So if I can reach that point in life where I have enough time to just do the things that I want to do and further myself, almost like a Tim Ferriss lifestyle, He's wearing weird headbands, taking vitamins,
whatever he wants to do,
saunas, whatever he wants to do. That's success to me. It's not like the infinity pool on, in the valley or something, but a point where I can do what I want to do.
Sure. Being financially independent where you can, explore whatever you want to explore.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. What's a habit that you've developed over the past few years that's most improved your life?
Habit that I've developed over the past couple of years. By the way, I'm on I think I've been up for the past 24 hours.
You're doing great.
So I apologize.
Honestly, I cannot tell. You're doing fantastic. This is a great interview.
I'm dull today, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. But I'm having a hard time processing things quickly. Ask me the question again. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, no problem. What is a habit that you've developed over the past few years that's most improved your life?
Probably, I actually have some written up here on my whiteboard. I have a self-improvement area on my whiteboard. I would say self-awareness probably is my biggest thing. So I have a tendency to get lost in conversation, get lost in ideas. As you probably noticed by now through this podcast, I can go on tangents. So over the past couple of years, I've been working on, I was way worse. Before, kind of tightening up the corset of my mind and paying attention to what I'm saying, what I'm doing, and the rationalization. Is this a backwards rationalization?
Right.
Is this logical? Logic is logic. That would be my answer. Okay. Like applying logic and denouncing logical fallacies that I am paying into throughout a day-to-day basis.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. So there's a couple more that are just kind of Wichita based. What is your favorite part of Wichita, or like a hidden gem? So some people say maybe like a hole in the wall restaurant or something like that. Yes. What's your favorite?
Yes. Thai tradition. Tradition. Yeah. It's on Carriage Parkway.
Yeah.
Central and Carriage Parkway. It is the best pad thai I've ever had. And I've tried a lot of pad thai. It's the best I've ever had. You gotta get grandma's or I think it's grandma's the chef that makes the best. It's literally the grandma in the family that makes it.
That's fantastic.
She makes the best pad thai in the world. That would be my recommendation.
Okay. I actually haven't been there, but we live pretty close in that area of town.
Yeah.
And so Cafe Asia is not too far. Yeah. And that's my favorite right now. So I'll have to go try Thai traditions.
You got to try it. Yeah. You got to try it, man. It's affordable. The customer's service there is amazing.
I will do that soon.
Is phenomenal.
Okay. That's definitely on the list. Is there anything you wish Wichita had that it doesn't, or what would you improve about Wichita?
Wichita's pretty good. That's a hard question because Wichita has a lot of the things that I would say, even like there's a lot of things that I didn't know Wichita had. Right. And I'll go look it up and it's like, oh my God, they have that.
Right.
One thing they don't have yet, indoor skydiving.
Okay.
Get it.
Which they have in KC. So
yeah. I don't want to drive. I don't want to drive to KC. Put it here. Yeah. And I will pay $60 a day for the rest of my life to do that.
They're going to hold you to that if they go. It's on the record now.
Oh God. No, I don't have that type of kind of money, that kind of money yet, but someday maybe. Maybe I open the indoor skydiving franchise.
There you go. There we go. Why not? All right. Last question, man. What does Wichita mean to you?
Oh man, it's home. It's roots. I wanted to get away from it for so long, but now it's my roots. It's headquarters, like it doesn't matter whether I'm living in California or Hawaii or Texas or, Thailand. I think at any point in time, home base is always going to be in Kansas. It might be a shack somewhere here, but I'm going to have something here.
Sure.
So it's home.
Yeah.
It's home, man.
Awesome. I love that. This was a lot of fun. I've been meaning to have you on for a while. So where can people find you or Agent Inc. on social media and that kind of thing?
So Agent Inc. on social media is at Agent Inc. on Twitter. On Instagram, it's at Agent Inc. Apparel.
Okay.
Quick note, that is INK, not INC. A lot of people think it's INC.
Yeah, there we go. And I'll link everything up too. So
awesome. For my personal Twitter, you're going to want to go to at Joey_Nowlin on Twitter. And on Instagram, it's actually at Joey Nowlin_.
Perfect.
Somebody took my name. But yeah, that's those are my handles.
Perfect. I'll link everything up. Man, I really appreciate it. This is a fun conversation. So we'll touch base and hopefully we can get some more apparel and gear rolling too. So
that sounds amazing. Love to.
Joey.
Love to. Thank you so much.
Man.
See you later.
Peace.